morning, kiddo kids, and welcome to your Tuesday, March 9th. Today, of all days, is National Meatball Day. Again, one of those days you just didn't necessarily expect, but it's there. And there's a lot of different meatballs to choose from. It's quite the variety. You get your Swedish meatballs, which you might get some over when you get your IKEA furniture. You get your Italian meatballs, the classic. Obviously, the big one right here, the kind of Sicilian style. And then you got your Vietnamese po meatballs, which is kind of a cool one to think about, usually made with pork rather than beef. You could even have a very cool tradition in the Jewish religion of making gefilte fish, which is a really kind of neat fish and unleavened bread meatball. And then maybe you're not a meat person. Maybe you want to go that kind of vegetarian route and you want to end up having some falafel, which is kind of a cool Middle Eastern and North African tradition of taking ground up chickpeas and then deep frying them into a meatball kind of form. And man, they are really good. I got to tell you, I'm not usually a vegetarian for what I go to eat, but I will definitely order falafel off of any menu. And I mean, it's a cool thing because there's a lot of history behind meatballs, apparently. I didn't know this until I started looking it up. But it started all the way back in the Persian Empire, around 500 BC. So, pretty old food right here. So they actually had their own version of meatballs in the Persian Empire. And that used to be a kind of big, lavish feast item. So they would, get their meatballs and they'd get together and they'd have kind of a meatball party. Cool. And now that you know all of that about the Persian Empire and their fascination with meatballs, why don't we put our hands over our heart, find the flag in the room, and please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right there, Kendall kids. Gather around and let's talk a little bit about food. Today we have a turkey sandwich, or nachos el grande, along with vegetarian beans, mixed vegetables, and pears. So quite a nice selection right there, kind of opposite ends of the spectrum with both spicy and mild. Talking about what's going on with the weather, well, guess what? It's about to get, forgive the pun, a little bit spicy because we are looking at a warming temperature trend here. We are at 47 degrees. This has actually changed from last time I gave you guys your forecast. There's been even more of a swing of the jet stream, meaning that we're getting more of that southerly warm air coming up. Tomorrow is going to be a high of 63, a real warm one, and it looks like the rain is not going to hit us during the day. So that's going to be a really wonderful day. Probably the best day of the week, I would argue to you, just because of the sun coming out. Thursday, though, technically will be a higher temperature high. So both Wednesday and Thursday actually have the potential to be record-setting temperatures of weather ever recorded in our area. So that's kind of an exciting thing. So we'll wait and see what actually happens for that. But you can see there are some days in March that tend to get up in the 60s, very low 60s. But if we get up into the mid to upper 60s, we will set a new record here. So that is kind of an interesting fact. The temperature is still going to stay pretty warm through Friday and Saturday, but it's going to be dropping a lot into Saturday and Sunday. So just be aware that it's a pretty short-lived warm front here, but it's going to be a really great end of your week in terms of being comfortable. And Friday is just looking phenomenal because it's looking like we're going to have a little bit more of that sunlight breaking through. And the combination of the warmer temperatures and the sun coming in is going to make it feel like a really comfortable spring day out there. So spring is coming early, at least for this week so far. What does that mean for you and your daily routine? Well, obviously, outside time is very likely to be happening today. Unless the rain comes pouring down, we are going to be looking good for that. So definitely enjoy your time outside. Still, though, you want to be prepared with the proper clothing because it is going to be deceptive in terms of how warm it is and how warm it actually is outside. It's all relative, guys. So please still bring the clothing that you might need if you start to get a little bit cold. We don't want you to get uncomfortable or to catch a cold because you're not giving your body the ability to resist those little germs that come in your way. Anyways, Last thing I want to mention is for Sophia Picardo and Miss Dill, congratulations. Way to go. You guys did an amazing job organizing this drive. And then congratulations to all you kids out there who donated. You did a phenomenal job, did some real good in our community. And it is really amazing to do something locally ourselves. And really amazing that Sophia was the one to organize this idea and really see it through. So way to go. Kudos to everybody out there. And let's finish off our announcements with that mission statement. The mission of the Kendall Central School District is to provide the knowledge, skills, values, attitudes needed by students to live responsibly and to compete successfully in today's and tomorrow's world. Well, hope you guys have a terrific Tuesday, and if I don't get a chance to see you, remember to stay colorful, Kendall.